What's up, Taiwan? I'm Yvonne with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. TSMC is reporting record profits and booming demand for its AI chips. But at its annual shareholders meeting in Hsinchu, the spotlight turned for a moment to workers' safety after a deadly accident at one of its construction sites just days earlier. Chris Gorin has the story.
C.C. Wei, chair and CEO of Taiwan chip giant TSMC, showing a bit of humanity as he apologizes to the family of a construction worker who died last week while building one of their new facilities in Jiayi County.
这个生命是无价的，而且我们也很注重公安。我们有所不足的地方，我必须代表公司致歉。我们实质是很努力的，我们不只是会赚钱，我们还有社会的责任。
The apology punctuated the company's annual shareholder meeting that was otherwise awash in record numbers. TSMC reported more than $25 billion in revenue last quarter, a year-on-year increase of more than 40%. Taking questions from investors, C.C. Wei said that while U.S. tariffs and fluctuations in the exchange rate of the Taiwan dollar had hurt company profit margins, demand for TSMC chips is outpacing supply.
全世界的经济 稍微往下调，但是 AI 还是非常的强劲，所以台积电还是会非常的成长，还是在20几%中位数。然后我们的今年的营业额和今年的盈余都会再创历史新高。
In the years since Wei became the first person to serve as both TSMC chair and CEO, the company has continued to expand abroad, in Japan, Germany, and the U.S. However, Wei denied reports that TSMC is planning to build facilities in the Middle East. That's as one of the company's main customers, NVIDIA, is making deals to build some of the world's largest data centers in that region. But Taiwan's largest company is not without controversy. Prior to Wei's apology, labor groups and victims' families protested outside the meeting, calling for more safety on the company's construction sites. The company has also been criticized for its power and water usage. But many investors still seem satisfied with the bottom line. With rising global demand, record profits, and an expanding international footprint, executives here are hoping that's enough to keep shareholders on their side. Alex Chun and Chris Gorin in Hsinchu for TaiwanPlus.
Trump administration policies are biting in Taiwan despite a temporary pause on higher U.S. import tariffs. Companies worried about tariffs have put hundreds of workers on unpaid leave, while the funds for labor insurance and pensions are hemorrhaging money. John Van Trieste reports.
Factories like this still have one more month to go before the Trump administration is scheduled to reimpose sweeping import tariffs, including on Taiwanese goods. But for many, this reprieve is hardly reassuring. The Labor Ministry says companies bracing for impact have put over 800 workers on unpaid leave, most of them in the manufacturing sector. That's around 30% of the workers on unpaid leave nationwide.
有一家是机械设备制造业，他通报了140人。那这家公司主要做的是减速机轮的齿轮首次通报，要实施减班休息。
Business leaders are hoping the government will lend a hand.
希望政府能够协助企业做税务的减免，比如说所得税，或者是货物税的印花税的减免。
But this call for help comes at a financially awkward time for the government. Its funds for pensions, unemployment, overdue wages, and more depend on investments, and market volatility and exchange rate movements, driven in part by Trump administration policies, have bit hard. By the end of April, losses for the year had reached $6.6 billion.
金融市场都受到了这个地缘政治跟美国关税贸易政策的影响，应该是说不是只有台股啦，科技类的包括台股或者是像费城半导体这指数，它的跌幅都比较大，都有超过双位数哈。
All of which leaves Taiwan facing more uncertainty. The Labor Ministry believes that in the long run, currency markets will settle down, and already May has seen something of an uptick. But jitters about what Trump will or won't do mean there may be more jolts on the way. Luffy Li and John Van Trieste in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Russia and Ukraine have failed to reach a ceasefire agreement, but they have agreed to exchange thousands of prisoners.
On release of prisoners of war, we agreed to focus on specific categories rather than numbers. We agreed to exchange all for all, seriously wounded and seriously sick prisoners of war.
At peace talks in Istanbul, the two sides also agreed to exchange all prisoners of war under the age of 25, as well as return the bodies of 6,000 soldiers killed in action. But on the question of a ceasefire, the two sides made little progress. The U.S. has called on both Russia and Ukraine to continue negotiations.
This war has been brutal from both sides. Too many people have died, and the president wants this war to end at the negotiating table, and he's made that very clear.
The talks come after a large-scale Ukrainian drone attack, which Kyiv says damaged or destroyed at least 40 Russian aircraft. And to find out more about Russia-Ukraine peace talks and what the ongoing conflict means for Taiwan, our reporter Rick Glauer spoke to Zhang Tingting, professor in international relations at Minchuan University in Taipei.
So given the ongoing hostilities between the two sides, is it any surprise that Ukraine and Russia peace talks didn't get further than they did?
Well, there's no surprise at all because we can see that from the first negotiation, there's nothing improved. And I think the most important issue is that there's no compromises, or not just compromises, there's even no common ground constructed for both sides. So if there's no common ground for negotiations, everything remains as a deadlock.
Given what we know about these talks this week, how far apart are the two sides, and are there any conditions that are making negotiations harder or making it look like peace will be harder to broker?
I found it very interesting from the news about Russia's conditions in the second round of negotiation. The first one is, of course, to recognize the 4 regions controlled by Russia. The second one is the foregoing NATO members' commitment not to joining NATO. The third one is limitation to Ukrainians' military capabilities, but we don't really know the details because there's no details about the limitations. And the last one, I found it quite interesting. I'm not sure whether if it was included in the previous negotiations, but this time it highlighted here. It's about to recognize Russian as an official language in Ukraine.
A lot of the recent violence between the two sides has been this new type of warfare. We've seen a lot of drone attacks. What do we know about how Taiwan is preparing, given its own threat from China, for this kind of high technology warfare?
As we can see what happened in the past 2 days about the spider web drone attacks, it was a big success for Ukraine. And it's also opened a new page on military strategy. And there are 2 very important things for Taiwan to think about or to learn from this. So the technology preparations are very important. For example, the satellite and also the drone control stations. Do we have all these constructions already? Have we already invested in all these equipment? Has our government already prepared for all this? And also the second thing is about strategies, because the drone attacks are going to be very different from the traditional war strategies. So do we have any new strategies? Have we think about how to use these drones at sea? How are we going to use it? And also, on the other hand, can we predict how China is going to use it to attack us?
That was Professor Zhang Tingting from Minchuan University. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Before we go, let's enjoy the fun in a small village in Colombia where the main street has been turned into a giant slide. I'm Yvonne Yang, take care, and I'll see you next time.